The story of Charles Manson and the Manson family remains one of the darkest chapters in American history. More than 50 years ago, a man with a troubled past and an insidious charm gathered a following convincing young people to do the unimaginable. Tonight, we delve into Manson's mind and explore the people whose lives were forever changed by his influence. What drove a man to believe he could incite chaos and bend others to his will? Was it society's failure, or was something darker festering within him all along? Today, on Darker Things, this is Inside the Mind of Charles Manson.
People always want to know, why, Charlie? Why did you do it? They look at me like I'm something strange, something twisted they could never understand. But they don't want to hear the truth. I didn't grow up like you did. No, sir. Born to a mother who didn't want me, thrown around like a ball no one wanted to catch. Reform schools, they called them, but those places, they teach you to hate. And if you weren't filled with hate, they'd find a way to put it in you. And after years of that, you start to realize it's all just a game. A big, sick game where you either learn to control or be controlled. And me? I wasn't about to be controlled by anybody. People think I'm some kind of monster. They think I woke up one day and decided to make people follow me, to lead them down a dark path. But it wasn't like that. I didn't see myself as evil. I saw myself as a teacher, someone who could show others a different way to live, free from the chains society puts on you. The world is full of lies. Your parents, your teachers, the government. They all want to keep you in line, make you just another cog in their machine. I looked at the people around me, the lost ones, the ones society didn't care about. They were drifting, looking for something, anything, to make them feel alive. And I knew I could give them that. I could be the one to show them the truth. I could be the one to lead them, to give them something real to believe in. And they followed me, not because I forced them, but because I spoke to that emptiness inside of them, the emptiness I knew all too well. It wasn't about violence at first. It was about freedom, about breaking away from the rules that held us back. But freedom isn't easy. It's not just peace and love. It's messy, it's dangerous, and it requires sacrifice. The world doesn't change without a little chaos. I knew that if we were going to make a mark, if we were going to be remembered, we had to shake things up. We had to make people see that the old ways were dying, that something new was coming. They say I brainwashed them, that I manipulated them. But I didn't do anything they didn't want. I just showed them a different path, a way to be free from the lies. And they wanted it. They wanted to be part of something bigger, to be part of a family that didn't judge them, that accepted them for who they were. I gave them that. I gave them a purpose. And if that scared people, if it made them see me as a monster, well, maybe they should take a closer look at themselves.
I was different, I guess. Or maybe not different, just invisible. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the girl no one noticed. My mother was sick, really sick, and she passed when I was just 15. I remember how she used to look at me, even when she could barely lift her head. She'd look at me like I was her whole world, like she wanted something more for me. But then, she was gone, and that look went with her. My dad, he couldn't cope. He wasn't a bad man, but he was broken, like a glass that's been shattered. He drank, hid behind his own pain, and he just drifted away from me. There wasn't anyone there to catch me when I fell. So, I just wandered. I thought I'd find something out there, something to fill the emptiness inside. But all I found were cheap thrills and cheap people. I was invisible, no matter where I went. By the time I was 18, I'd already seen too much. I'd done too much. People think joining Manson was the worst thing I ever did, but the truth? I'd lost myself long before I met Charlie. I fell into the wrong crowd, tried to escape my loneliness with people who didn't care about me, jobs that went nowhere, and nights I can barely remember. I was on a dark path, and it was leading nowhere. And then, I met Charlie. He was like a flame in the darkness. He saw me. Not the invisible girl, not the girl with a broken family, not the girl people walked past without a second glance. No, he looked right into me, like he could see everything I was and everything I could be. He made me feel important, special. I remember how he'd talk to us, tell us we were destined for something bigger, that we were his family, his chosen people. And I wanted so desperately to belong somewhere, to be seen, to be loved. Charlie had this way of making you feel powerful, like nothing mattered but his words. He'd talk about love, about freedom, and I wanted to believe him so badly. I wanted to feel free. But little by little, that freedom turned to control. The love he spoke of turned to something darker. And yet, I stayed, because by then, Charlie's voice was in my head. He was the only thing I believed in. I thought he was saving me, lifting me out of the emptiness. The night he told us to kill, it didn't even feel real. I looked into his eyes, and I saw faith. Faith that I would do it, that I would be strong enough to carry out his wishes. He told us we were bringing a new world, that the people we killed didn't matter. I wanted so badly to believe him. I wanted to believe that the violence meant something, that it was for a cause, for something bigger than myself. But afterward, when the blood was on my hands, and I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't see freedom. I saw someone I didn't recognize. Someone who had thrown away every piece of herself just to feel like she belonged. I followed him blindly because I didn't know how to find my own way. I wasn't born a killer. I was just lost. And Charlie? He found me when I was at my weakest, and he took every broken piece of me and twisted it. He made me think that the darkness inside was power, that pain was love, and that I could be someone, even if it meant losing myself. People say we had a choice, that we could have walked away. But you don't understand, once Charlie's in your head, once he's in your heart, it's like you can't hear anything else. You're drowning, and he's the only one who can keep you afloat. And by the time you realize he's the one pulling you under, it's already too late.
I was just a girl, feeling so invisible, drifting in the dark, no hand to hold. The world passed me by, didn't see my tears, just another broken soul, lost for years. Then you came to me like a fire in the night, told me I could be someone, said you make it right. And I believed every word you said, gave you all my faith, let you in my head. And I needed something, someone to see me. You said you loved me, said you set me free, but freedom wasn't what I found. It was your voice that kept me bound. I was lost in the shadows, following your light. Thought I found a savior, but you let me in at night. I gave up my soul for a promise made in vain. Now I'm left here with nothing but the shame. Lost in the shadows, couldn't see the lights. You took my broken heart and made me cross the line. You called us your family, made us feel alive. Told us we were chosen, that the world was blind. The love turned to chains and the dream turned cold. I was caught in a web, losing all control. I tried to believe that what we did was right. Tried to close my eyes, but I still see that night. Your whispers in my ear telling me to fight. I held on to your words till I lost my whole life.
It was easy. You want someone to believe something? You gotta make them feel it. I didn't see myself as some kind of monster. No. I was just showing them the truth, teaching them to see through the lies the world's been feeding them. And if they listened to me, that was their choice, wasn't it? I wasn't holding a gun to anybody's head, at least, not at first. They were afraid because I wasn't playing by their game. I wasn't living by their morals, their standards. I was creating something new, and they couldn't handle it. And when they couldn't control me, they tried to destroy me. But what they didn't realize is that you can't kill an idea. You can't lock up the truth. They put me in a cage, but my words are still out there, still echoing, still making people question everything they think they know. Control, that's what it all comes down to. They say I controlled my family, that I brainwashed them. But what they don't see is that everyone's being controlled by something. Fear, money, power, love. Everyone's got something pulling their strings. I just taught my people to cut those strings, to live without fear, to take what they wanted. And if that made me a monster in their eyes, so be it. I never claimed to be anything else.
You came to me broken, lost and in pain, looking for a purpose, tired of the same. I was the one who saw who you could be, showed you a world beyond what they let you see. I gave you freedom, gave you a name, taught you to see that the world is just a game. Told you the truth, they tried to hide. Now you're by my side, ready for the ride. You're the strings in my hands, moving with my command. Together we'll dance while the world doesn't understand. I gave you the love they never gave. Now with a storm, the weight they can't escape. You're the strings in my hands, part of my plan. In a world that's broken, you know I'm your only man. They said I was crazy, but you knew the way. I spoke in the dark, and you begged me to stay. The world shut you out, but I took you in. Gave you a family, a place to begin. I gave you fire, made you feel alive. Promised a future where we could thrive. Told you the lies they told were true. Now you're walking in the light I made for you. You're the strings in my hands, moving with my command. Together we'll dance while the world doesn't understand. I gave you the love they never gave. Now with a storm, the weight they can't escape. You're the strings in my hands, part of my plan. In a world that's broken, you know I'm your only man. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. You think you're free, but freedom's a chain. I broke those chains, now we're one and the same. Look in my eyes, you know I'm the key. Without me, you're just lost, empty as can be. You're the strings in my hands, following my command. We'll bring down the walls of this broken, empty land. I gave you a reason, gave you a name. Now we're unstoppable, and they'll all know my claim. Strings in my hands, dancing through the night. I showed you the darkness and gave you the light. You're my family, we'll never be apart. You're the strings in my hands, and I'll play every heart. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh.
My real name is Charles Denton Watson, but no one's called me that in years. Back home, they called me Tex Watson, the good old boy from Copeville, Texas. I grew up in this little town, you know, one of those places where everybody knows everybody, and the biggest thing going on was Friday night football. I was good at that. real good. Fast on my feet, people said. I had this charm, I guess, a kind of easygoing way about me that made people trust me, even like me. I like that. Like being the one people looked up to. But there was this itch, this feeling that no matter how hard I tried, I'd never be enough. I wanted to get out, to see something bigger, to find more. So I did what a lot of kids from small towns do. I left for California, searching for whatever the hell was missing. When I got to Los Angeles, man, it was everything I'd dreamed of. But it was so easy to get lost. You get pulled into things out there, the parties, the drugs. It's like a never-ending carnival. For a while, I drifted, you know? Going from one high to the next, one girl to the next, just trying to fill that emptiness. But no matter what I did, it never lasted. I'd wake up, and the hole was still there. Then, I met Charlie. I didn't know who he was, just saw this wiry little guy with wild eyes and this presence. People say charisma like it's something you can fake, but with Charlie, it was real. He looked right at you, like he could see through everything you were trying to hide. And the way he talked, it was like he knew me better than I knew myself. Charlie told us we didn't have to live by anyone else's rules. That the people out there, the ones who'd ignored us, laughed at us, dismissed us, they were the ones who were lost, not us. He said we were a family, that we were part of something bigger, something the world wasn't ready to see. And I wanted to believe him, so badly. He had this way of making you feel like you mattered, like you were finally free. For the first time, I felt like I was someone. I wasn't just Tex from Copeville, the boy who left his roots, who couldn't find his way. No, with Charlie, I was a warrior, a prophet, someone with a purpose. He gave us something that felt powerful. And I didn't have to think, didn't have to wonder who I was. He told me who I was, and I believed him. The night we went out to Cielo Drive. I remember every second, every moment. It was surreal, like a dream, or a nightmare, maybe. We were just doing what Charlie told us to do. He said it was the only way to start the change, that we had to shake people up, make them see the truth. He talked about Helter Skelter, the race war he swore was coming, and how we were the chosen ones to start it. I didn't question it. I just went along. When we got there, when I stepped inside that house, it was like something snapped. I was on autopilot. All I could hear was Charlie's voice, like he was right there in my head, guiding me, telling me what had to be done. And I did it. I did things that don't even feel real now. It's like I watched myself from the outside, saw my hands moving, felt the weight of the knife, but it wasn't me. It was like I'd become something else, something dark and empty. Charlie's vision had filled that hole in me, but it replaced it with something twisted. When we got there, when I stepped inside that house, it was like something snapped. I was on autopilot. All I could hear was Charlie's voice, like he was right there in my head, guiding me, telling me what had to be done. And I did it. I did things that don't even feel real now. It's like I watched myself from the outside, saw my hands moving, felt the weight of the knife, but it wasn't me. It was like I'd become something else, something dark and empty. Charlie's vision had filled that hole in me, but it replaced it with something twisted.
Small town boy, dreams too big for where I came. Packed up my life, chasing lights, a different name. California called, but I got lost along the way. Too many nights, too many lies, and nothing left to say. Then I saw you, Charlie, wild eyes and a promise. Said I could be someone, gave me a cause that was flawless. I fell in line, felt like I finally belonged, but I never knew that my path could go so wrong. Now I'm staring in the mirror, don't know who I see. A stranger holding the weight of all this tragedy. I followed you blindly, thought I found a place, but all I see now is regret written on my face. The road I shouldn't have taken, but I can't turn back. Every step was a mistake that led to this dark track. You called me a warrior, said I was chosen to bring the fire, break the chains of a world that was frozen. I was Tex, the good old boy with nothing left to lose. But the nights grew darker and I lost sight of the truth. Charlie spoke like a prophet, a savior from the storm. But your words twisted, became a blade that kept me torn. I wanted something real, something more than the emptiness. But now I'm left with nothing, just a soul that's restless. Now I'm staring in the mirror, don't know who I see. A stranger holding the weight of all this tragedy. I followed you blindly, thought I found a place. But all I see now is regret written on my face. The road I shouldn't have taken, but I can't turn back. Every step was a mistake that led to this dark track. All those nights, all the voices in my head, telling me this was my fate. Every word that you said. But now I know freedom isn't what we found. It's just a prison made of choices that drag me down. Now I'm staring in the mirror, don't know who I see. A stranger holding the weight of all this tragedy. I followed you blindly, thought I found a place. But all I see now is regret written on my face. The road I shouldn't have taken, but I can't turn back. Every step was a mistake that led to this dark track. I was just a lost boy looking for a sign, but the light I followed was a lie all the time. Now I'm left alone, paying for what I've done. A life forever scarred, trying to outrun the road I shouldn't have taken. Now it's all I see, and a ghost of who I was. Oh, let me be free.
I never set out to be famous. I was just a girl from Texas, a girl with a big smile and bigger dreams. Hollywood felt like a world away, but somehow it found me. People would say I was beautiful, like a doll. But I didn't want to be just a pretty face. I wanted to be remembered for something real. When I met Roman, it was like stepping into a fairy tale. He was wild, brilliant, a storm wrapped in passion and chaos. I think we were drawn to each other's energy, him with his wild heart, me with my quiet dreams. People called it a stormy romance, and maybe it was. But it was ours. We fought, sure, but we loved fiercely. And I thought, in our own way, we'd last. I had friends who grounded me, who kept me close to my roots. J. Sebring, my dear friend and hairstylist. He was like a brother to me. We had an unspoken understanding, a connection that went beyond Hollywood glitz. Jay was there for every heartbreak, every triumph, every little moment that mattered. I could always count on him. That night, it was supposed to be an ordinary evening, just friends coming together. Jay was there, of course. And my friends Abigail and Wojtek. Roman was away, working on a film in Europe. He called to check in, and I told him not to worry, that I was safe, that we were all just enjoying each other's company. We had so much to look forward to, so much life left to live. I was so excited to become a mother. Roman and I would joke about names, wonder if our child would have his intense eyes or my smile. I dreamed of raising a family, of watching our baby grow up in a house filled with laughter. I wanted more for my child, a world of hope and peace, not fear and anger. I didn't want them to ever feel the loneliness I sometimes felt in this world of flashing lights and empty words.
When they came, I felt it, this darkness, like a chill in the air. I looked into their eyes and saw nothing. Just empty, hollow eyes that didn't see me, didn't see my friends, didn't see my unborn child. I begged them, tried to reach them somehow. I thought maybe if they saw me as a person, if they saw me as a mother-to-be, they'd feel something. But there was nothing. They looked right through me, like I was just a shadow. All those dreams, those precious moments I'd imagined, they were stolen, ripped away. I'd never get to hold my baby, to see my child's first steps, to watch them grow. Roman would never get to be a father, and I would never have the life I'd worked so hard to build. It was gone, all of it. And for what? For some twisted idea, some meaningless rage? I sometimes wonder if they ever understood the lives they destroyed, the futures they erased. Jay, Abigail, Wojtek, they were real people with dreams, with love in their hearts. And me? I was just a woman who wanted to be a mother, who wanted to bring a little more light into this world. People will remember my name, but they'll never know the life I could have had, the life I should have had. They'll never know the quiet moments, the laughter, the love. I was more than a victim, more than a story. I was just beginning. And in an instant, it was all gone.
I dreamed of a little one, held close to my heart. Life that was waiting, just waiting to start. You'd have your daddy's eyes, a smile in his laugh. We'd have our house full of love, memories we'd craft. But the winds of fate, they took it all away. The future I longed for vanished in a day. I'll never get to hold you, see your first steps, my dear. Now it's just a dream, lost in the echoes here. Oh, the life we never had, the love we'll never see. A family full of promise taken too soon from me. I used to sing to you softly, with my hand on my heart. I'd picture you running barefoot in the backyard. We'd watch the stars together as you drift off to sleep. And I'd whisper my secrets, the promises I'd keep. But the winds of fate, they took it all away. The future I longed for vanished in a day. I'll never get to hold you, see your first steps, my dear. Now it's just a dream, lost in the echoes here. Oh, the life we never had, the life we'll never see. The moments left unwritten that'll echo through the years.
The trial wasn't just about proving his guilt. We knew what he'd done. We knew he was behind it all. But the challenge was making the jury, the press, the entire nation see it. He never lifted a weapon, never pulled a trigger. He was a mastermind, and his weapon was his words, his twisted ideas. Trying to capture that in a courtroom, trying to paint a picture of a man who could manipulate others to kill on his behalf, that was the hardest part. I watched the family members, Tex, Susan, Patricia, Leslie. They were shells, hollowed out by his influence, like he'd scraped out whatever humanity they had left. And it struck me that Manson had created something worse than killers. He'd made puppets, people willing to do anything just to stay in his good graces, to please him, to prove their loyalty. It wasn't just terrifying, it was exhausting, trying to break through that spell he had over them. I'd go home at night, my mind racing, my stomach churning. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see those scenes, those images from the crime scenes, blood on the walls, the broken lives. And it haunted me. I started sleeping with a light on. I'd wake up in a sweat, convinced he was there, just beyond my door. My family, my friends, They'd say, "Vincent, you've got to let this go. You've got to leave it at the courthouse." But you can't leave something like that behind. It gets under your skin. It becomes part of you. My wife, she bore the brunt of it. I'd come home distant, distracted, barely able to carry on a conversation. She was patient, but even she had limits. And there were nights when I'd wonder, was I losing my own mind, letting Manson get inside my head just as he'd done with his followers? But every time I thought about walking away, about letting someone else handle it, I'd see Sharon Tate's face, hear about the other victims, and I'd feel that fire again. I couldn't let him win. I wouldn't let him win. When the jury came back, when they said guilty, there was no relief. No sense of triumph. Just emptiness. I looked at Manson, at the family, and I knew this wasn't over. Not for them, not for me. They were going to live on, in books, in movies, in the minds of everyone who would hear their names in the years to come. And I was right. They became icons, symbols of a darkness people couldn't understand, a horror they couldn't look away from. Manson didn't just kill people, he left a scar on the nation's soul. Sometimes I wonder, was justice really served? I fought for the death penalty. I stood there and asked for it, with every conviction in my heart that it was the right thing to do. But when the state called it off, when life in prison became the sentence, I started to question myself. If they had gone to the chair, would I have been any different from the people I prosecuted? Would I have had blood on my hands too? Was life in a cage better? Was it enough? Was it justice? I look at Manson, sitting in that cell, knowing he could still be up for parole. It never ends. The victims don't get parole, their families don't get a chance to move on. I've seen parents break down in the courtroom, heard their sobs echoing off the walls. And I have to wonder, did anyone win? Or did we all just lose pieces of ourselves along the way? Is keeping him alive, keeping him locked up, true justice? Or are we all still under his influence, keeping the story alive, keeping him alive in our minds, in our fears? I don't regret what I did. I fought to make sure those families got justice, that they didn't have to live in fear of him any longer. But the truth? Manson's shadow never left me. It followed me through every case, every quiet moment at home. It's a scar that will never fully heal. People think justice is black and white, that it's clear-cut. But the truth is, it's messy. It's painful. And sometimes, even when you think you've won, you realize you've lost something too. I'll carry that weight with me until the day I die. And maybe that's the price of justice, knowing that you've looked into the heart of darkness, that you've done your part to bring light back, even if it leaves you haunted. Some scars, they don't fade. And for this one, maybe they never should.
I stood in that courtroom, staring at his face, fighting for the victims, trying to bring some grace. I told the world he was evil, that he needed to pay. But sometimes I wonder if justice really found its way. They gave him life, they locked him away, but the shadows of the past still linger today. And I can't help but think about what might have been. Would I have blood on my hands if that had been the end? Justice or a ghost haunting every sleepless night? Did we find the answer or just turn off the light? Did anyone win or did we all lose somehow? He's behind bars, but his words still echo now. Justice or a ghost? Did the gavel hit too hard? Is a life spent in a cell really setting things apart? I fought to bring the truth, but the questions never end. Is it justice or just a ghost that'll never let me mend? I watched the family, saw the emptiness in their eyes. Kids turned into killers, fooled by Charlie's lies. I said they deserved to pay for the choices they made, but was locking them up, really breaking those chains? They took innocent lives, but was my fight enough? When I look in the mirror, the reflection feels rough. The death penalty hung over us, and then it sloughed. those chains. They took innocent lives, but was my fight enough? When I look in the mirror, the reflection feels rough. We've heard the voices, the cries from the past. Lost souls searching for something that wouldn't last. Some chased the light, some gave in to the dark, and others were taken before they could make their mark. A dream that shattered, a fire turned to ash. The weight of choices and the echoes of the past, each one a story. A path that went astray, all different directions, yet somehow led the same way. All loose ends, all broken dreams, the threads of fate unravel at the seams. In a tangled world where hope and darkness blend, we try to find the meaning in the scars they left behind. All loose ends, stories never told, in the shadows where love and control unfold. We tie them all together in the echoes of their pain, trying to make sense of the hurt that still remains. Sharon wanted a future, a house filled with light, but the hands of fate took that dream in the night. Susan was searching for a family, a way to belong, but she lost herself in a promise that went wrong. Tex chased the thrill, looking for something real, but he ended up caught in the lies that made him kneel. And Charlie, he pulled all the strings he could find, but the light that he promised left empty and all broken dreams, the threads of fate unravel at the seams. In a tangled world where hope and darkness blend, we try to find the meaning in the scars they left behind. All loose ends, stories never told, in the shadows where love and control unfold.